Hi, I'm Sanket Attal. I manage a company called Intuit in India. Intuit is an American company which is in financial technology. So, in the early stages of any company, the most important thing is to get the right team in place. Oftentimes what happens is people think that it has to be a completely collaborative kind of experience from day one. But if you're trying to start something from the grassroots and trying to make it grow, so there's a life cycle of any company. From the time you get started, there's rapid growth, finally plateauing, and then decay. And so when you're starting off in a company, I think it really, really helps to have a great set of people. You figure out what the roles are, but ultimately there has to be one decision-making person because you need to take rapid decisions and you need to make fast progress. That person has to be there, and the person has to be able to rely on key people in the company to be able to take care of various roles. So unless this particular core team is a well-oiled machine, your company is not going to thrive. So the most important thing is to pick your lieutenants well, but in the initial stages of the company, keep a tight rein on what's happening and do quick decision making. As I had mentioned earlier, each company goes through the life cycle that I mentioned. There's the initial growth, there's a plateauing, there's a decay. And the successful companies actually get to the plateau, and then after that, they have another growth. And they get to the plateau and they have another growth. So that's the fundamental life cycle of any successful company. For us, our company is all based on something we call customer obsession. We are obsessed with trying to solve the problems of all the customers. And we do this by virtue of three basic things. They are FMH, CDI, and D4D, and I'll explain these. So FMH is follow me home. So we take a look at who is it that's our customer, and we go and observe them. Rather than asking them what is it that they need to get solved, we observe them and try to figure out what are the key pain points that need to be solved for them to be successful. And that's really important because oftentimes when you ask somebody what the problem is, they state something which is not actually the problem, right? The actual problem might be something else, but the thing that's plaguing them is something from their perspective. Once you have identified the pain points, then you have to get into what's called CDI, where you take a look at the pain points and you try to see which is the main pain point you'd like to address, because you have to go very narrow in this process. If you try to solve all the pain points, you're going to be a jack of all trades, master of none. Okay, so you have to pick that pain point, and after that, you have to figure out whether it's something you can actually do. And finally, the third part is when you have this solution that you have in mind, right, from your side, then you have to figure out whether it's going to gain you a competitive advantage. The intersection of these three is what helps determine what is it that you're trying to do. Next is how you do it. So that's D4D, which is basically design thinking, right? So design for delight, where again you empathize with the customer and you try to figure out what will be the best approach to solve the problem. And then you let go of any kind of confines you have in your thought process and you come up with all kinds of crazy ideas to fix the problem. And once you do that, you actually introduce that to the customer so that they can use it and make their lives better. But the third part of D4D is not being satisfied with yourself, which means that you keep on iterating and trying to do things better and better every time, right? And the fundamental concept behind that is you fall in love with the problem, not the solution, because the solution you want to keep on improving over time. The person who started Intuit is a guy named Scott Cook, and there was another co-founder of his as well. That was in the pre-cloud days, pre-internet days even. And the whole idea behind what they were trying to do was, again, the theme of all of my discussions is a very repeatable theme, which is customer obsession. So they were really, really obsessed with satisfying the customer rather than trying to have all kinds of whiz-bang features in the product to make sure they look very, very attractive to a technologist. You take a look at what the customer wants and satisfy them, right? So that's been the focus of the company all along. And as a result of that, you end up gaining traction because when you satisfy a customer, at that point in time, you all of a sudden have a marketeer who's going to talk about your company to other people, and all of a sudden the word spreads. That's how Intuit became really, really popular, right? Because customers were really happy. Was it a product with all of the latest features in it? No, but it had the features that the customers wanted. And that's what ultimately decided the winner. So I think the trick to market penetration and establishing a decent foothold with your customers is just truly, truly thinking from the customer side and focusing on satisfying their needs and their pain points.